Since we last spoke, I was in London for 24 hours. We will talk about that just because it's London. What else? I want to tell you about the book I finished last weekend, which I loved. I bumped into Neil Jordan, the film director, and we got talking about books. We had so I want to tell you about that because he was so interesting. I was in London to talk to A.A. Dan, the author of The Chemist, which we had a book club, an office book club over there in London, and that was really interesting. A fascinating guy. I talked about that. Got home last night and watched the end of Slow Horses 5. I know it's been around for 100 years, but I didn't get to see the last episode. What a finish. What a show. I'll talk about meeting Gary Oldman as well, because that was quite nice. A lot of name dropping today, but why not? Watched Goodfellas, if that's the English version. I say, funny how. In what way do you find me amusing? Is it because I'm a circus act? No, but it's actually referring to Goodfellas. Goodfellas. I would really love to watch that. Goodfellas. May watch Casino as a direct result of watching Goodfellas. Casino is the great underestimated gangster film of its time, I say. Got into Hatchard's bookshop in London, so I want to talk a bit about that. Also, I'm going to talk at length about the Beckhams. No, I'm joking. Now, even though that's what everyone wants to talk about, did you see, was your algorithm not just stuff with people pretending to, people's reaction to watching Brooklyn? Is that his name? Beckham. What's the kid's name? Brooklyn. No, because we're going to talk about Brooklyn, the book, but that's another story. We have a lot of, we've got a huge reaction. I put up an Insta post about books that have transitioned into movies perfectly. Now, we're not trashing movies because we know that most movies you've ever seen were books originally, right? From It's a Wonderful Life to Remains of the Day and so on. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of your suggestions that you loved. I put up 3 that I plucked from my shelf this morning. And Trump has gone completely mad, in case you didn't know. And so I've got quite an interesting suggestion for you to read. If you remember last week, I talked about 1984. Well, I'm going somewhere else this week. So we have lots of places to go. If you want to get involved, send a message and say hello. We got a big response to last week's, which was short books. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. What else did I suggest? All Quiet on the Western Front. What a great book and film. And Stasiland, which is also excellent by Anna Funder. Paul Byram, who, by the way, if you don't know Paul Byram, go to Spotify and listen to his music. He's just such a great talent. Went to see him at Christmas doing songs, and it was a joy. Cheers for these. He says, I always end up going to bookshops never knowing what to get. Loving the podcast for this reason, coupled with the conversations. Thank you, Paul. Mary Carroll says, I read The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. I've seen the movie too. It's a profound read that stays with you and makes you realise how much we take for granted, the small actions in our everyday life. Exactly that. Maeve says, I did a review of The Diving Bell and the Butterfly with you in Galway many moons ago, Ryan. You did. We did. It's still very special. Thank you. Lovely to hear from you, Maeve. Sinead, Stasiland's outstanding. Anna Funder narrating it so well. Piers Norton says, thanks for reminding me of All Quiet on the Western Front. I loved it. I'm going to buy it again for my son. Do that. Morpheus says, it's amazing that you channel your energy into this man. Something machines can never replace is the enthusiasm of another human being suggesting a book, which is why I love bookshops, and nearly everyone in who works in bookshops, some can be a bit, but most of them are brilliant. And no, but you know the way there's always, we'll ask Tony. Tony comes, yes, Tony, where are you from? 1876. I'm talking about London mostly, but in a nice way. Karen says, thank you for taking the time to share your recommendation. Not usually a big reader, that's fine. 2026 is the year I plan to step away from my phone and enjoy reading more. I appreciate your suggestions. It's great. Oh, my book suggestion for this week is so good. I can't wait to share it with you. Circa says, this new book club is great. This is the lunchtime special that we do. It's like speeding down a highway, grabbing books, films, and new series, and now baking. Let's face it, most people only cook about 2 recipes from cookbooks because you can never find the ingredients. My daughter has a home economics book, and you can always find the ingredients in the house. Bingo. Samantha says, Ryan, listening to your pod, love it. Regarding home economic cookbook, have you seen the Jerry Adams cookbook? Yes, I have. It's very home ecky. After years of picking up and dropping books, I did the 50-page rule also, and now I've set a reading task of 1 book a week this year. I will say, don't put yourself under pressure when it comes to reading, because then it stops being enjoyable. Steady as she goes. If you don't, if you don't reach your 1 week and you go, oh, I didn't do it, it's okay. Like, it's like Strava. It's very competitive. You're comparing. Just read. Just enjoy it. It's a book. So good luck, though. It's great. It's great that you're doing that. Another says, thanks for the recommendations. Need to get inspiration to read. I love the sound of the first one, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Haven't read properly in a long time. Recently read Poor by Katrina Sullivan, who was a guest on our bookshelf, who I'm meeting tomorrow for coffee. How about that? She wrote Poor, and I haven't seen. Has anyone seen the play? The drama version of it. I'd love to see it. Anyway, well done to Katrina. I'll see her tomorrow. But anyway, I'm delighted that worked out well. When I get reader's block, I go short. Short stories, Oscar Wilde, Chekhov, Claire Keegan, all the light stuff. I love having recommendations. If I was going to short stories, I'd go to Donal Ryan, and then if I wanted to go completely head melt, brilliant, the original Black Mirror, I'd go to Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected. Amazing. Another last one then. Brilliant. Just what I need to up my resolution of reading more and doom scrolling less. The doom scrolling is a curse, isn't it? Okay, lots coming in already. Welcome everybody. Great to have you with us. And I'll just say one because she's in Sydney, Australia, which is crazy. And that is Kathy. Kathy, welcome. So wherever you are in the world, and if you happen to be tuning in, I hope you're enjoying it. Broomfield Bound says, lunch and book chats, this is bliss. Well, you and me both. So the book, I was trying to get it before Christmas, and I couldn't because it seemed to be sold out all over the place. Then eventually I got it, and it was hadn't even been put on the shelf yet. I asked for it, and they said it's behind. I do this thing in the bookshop. I try and find the book without asking the person. I don't know what. I love the joy of. I'm like a pig with a truffle. I'm trying to find the book before I have to hassle the assistant. But anyway, I had to hassle the assistant. Maybe it was in the wrong. I was looking in the wrong place. Anyway, they said we have it. It's called The Director. The Director by Daniel Kehlmann. That's Kehlman. German, it's translated. So you're going, okay. Cover of it's really interesting. It's orange, and it's this kind of cartoon profile of a face with little glasses. And what it is how do I describe this properly? It is set in the 1930s. He's a famous Hollywood director who actually existed. So it's historical fiction. His name is Pabst, Pabst. And he's making his movies. And then he's doing only okay. He has to go home to Austria, Ostland, that has become because the Nazis have taken over. And the next thing you know, he's kind of looking after his mother or whatever. He gets somebody from the ministry comes along and says, now you'll be making films for us. And he says, I don't think so. That's not really my thing. I'm known as Pabst the Red. I'm essentially a communist over in the United States. And they said, no, you'll be making films for us. And if you don't, you can go to the camp. Now, which one would you like to do? He said, when do I start? Sort of thing. And he starts making these films. And it's about his kind of descent into collaboration, almost against his will. And he's got a wife who sees what's happening and a son who may or may not join the Nazi youth. So on it goes. It's so beautifully written. So it's like it's quality reading, but it's also a great punchy story. That's what I love. The combination of those two is great. So that's it. Book of the week. The Director, Daniel Kehlmann. Read it fast. That's what I mentioned. I bumped into Neil Jordan, the great Oscar-winning director, who he won it for a screenplay for The Crying Game. I think that was his Oscar, but he's a great director. And he was saying that he had read The Director, loved it, and actually offered me contact details for the writers. I don't know, I'll get in touch with them another time. But in the middle of it all, he has a new book out, which I'm extremely excited about, Neil, which is the science fiction. So I'll come back to you on that, but I believe it's great. Diane McGonigal says, Ryan, delighted to be off work for one of these. Looking forward to the book recommendations. And you're in Donegal and a long-time fan. Thank you. I am so happy the lads included that when they put it in. My ego is sorry. Aoife says, I'm standing here baking, listening to you talk about books. It's a good day. What are you baking? That's kind of nice. James says, Ryan, challenge for you. Name some great books that are based on TV or movies or other source material. Sorry, I'm just uncomfortable. Name some great books that are based on TV movies. Does that mean that the TV movies came first and then they... Okay. I can't think of any to hand, but I'll come back to you on that in a second. The play adaptation of Poor is incredible. Oh, that's great to hear. Good. Jessica's in India. What part of India? How's it going? And finally, from here, Steffi says, what did you think of the Shackleton Museum? I'm from Athy. Thanks for visiting. So they've opened up a Shackleton museum that's not called a museum. It's called the Shackleton Experience. If you're interested in the world of Ernest Shackleton, you will love this museum. It's in Athy in County Kildare. They've done a magnificent job on it. He's an intriguing character. Of course, he was born in Kildare, in just nearby. Kilkee, I think it is, and he lived there till he was about 6, then went to Dublin and then went to London, and then he became an explorer. He nearly ran for office and didn't get elected in the UK, and then he invented a cigarette, a type of cigarette. Like he was a bit of a hustler, to be honest, but he was always interested in in exploration and so on. So they've done this amazing. They've found the cabin that he died in, actually, in his last expedition is there, the actual cabin, and it was renovated by a bunch of people in Letterfrack in Connemara in the west of Ireland. So it's all connecting very nicely there. They have a beautiful statue of him outside, and there's a little cinema that shows footage of Shackleton. You can watch a TV series on it starring Kenneth Branagh if you want. But that museum experience, I loved it, and comes with a huge recommendation. Meanwhile, Joan is in Lanzarote, enjoying the show. Good on you, in the sunshine. I missed that. I was in London yesterday. I stayed in Soho for the first time, actually. I had a very nice evening in Soho with some pals. And the next day I went got a nice little breakfast near Soho Square, and made my way had a meeting at 12 in the News Building just on London Bridge, and then into the book club, which is the office book club. About 100 people and me on stage with an author. So we've had some great authors there for that. And yesterday it was A.A. Dan, that's D-H-A-N-D, who's the author of The Chemist. I might have mentioned it before, but he was really interesting. His parents owned a corner shop, had been subjected to quite a bit of racial discrimination and unpleasantness, but his dad one day turned around and said to the young lads, he brought a can of beer out, and he said, the story goes along the lines, he said, right lads, now you're roughing me up and you're acting a maggot and you're giving me hell, so I have a can of beer here. We either drink this together or I'll take yous all on. And they got so freaked out because a bully taken on, is a bully quite easily defeated in the end of the day. So they said, all right, what? We share the beer? Yeah, we share the beer. And they became not friends, but it's just... So he went on then he wanted to better himself. He wanted to work but he wanted to work at a counter as well. So he became a chemist. And as a chemist in a pretty rough part of town in Leeds and Bradford, he saw potential in storylines. He said there's a fine line between medication and poison. But you can weaponize what you have in The Chemist if you want to get rid of the bad guys. And it's a great book called The Chemist. I think you'll really enjoy it. And he was brilliant. Now, one of the things we're saying, now Jimmy's Barbershop, looking great, Ryan. Greetings from West Clare. Lovely. Appreciate that. Our old friend Mark from Scarbados. Good man, Mark. Went to see the Bone Temple yesterday. I love the 28 Days Years Later series. It was fab, particularly the Iron Maiden scene. I haven't seen it. I'm nearly. Have you seen it? Yeah, and it's great. What's the Jimmy thing? It's just completely bonkers, isn't it? Yeah. Did you love it? Because it got about 2 stars in the London Times there at the weekend, the Sunday Times. So what did you give it star-wise? Tom?
3.5.
3.5 stars. Yeah. Okay. Aidan, no, you're not into that stuff, are you? No.
Too scary for me.
Too scary?
Yeah.
What? You're a fighter, not a lover. I don't believe it. Okay, that's really interesting. I love these films, the 28 Years Later. Mark says, have you watched the new and Night of the Seven Kingdoms? Is that the offshoot from Game of Thrones? Is that so? Yeah? The main star of that is a guy from Galway. I keep seeing his name coming up. He's obviously doing really well. But the 28 Years Later, I'm so excited. I remember going to see the 28 Years Later, the reboot there recently, and I went, "What is going on?" It's a great fun. So I love that. What I did watch was Slow Horses, which was just season 5 end of. What a series! I mean, it's glorious. And I bought a copy of the first Slow Horses by Mick Herron in Goldsborough Books, which I've mentioned many times in Cecil Court, and it was signed, and it was a beautiful hard copy. And I brought it into work because Chris Evans was interviewing Gary Oldman in the show before I was doing it at the time, and there was time between the shows, and I said to Gary, "Look, this is a a nice edition of the book. Would you sign it?" And he did. He signed Gary Oldman. He said, give it back," and he gave it, and he signed it as Jackson Lamb as well, his character. Yeah. I was shocked about that. So that was nice. He's a very nice man. He's now Sir Gary Oldman. Can you believe that? Knight of the Realm. Mad. Another says, I'm reading John McGahern, The Barracks at the moment. Usually aboard the train from Sligo to work in St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. How lovely to work in St. Patrick's. Aoife, by the way, is making a lemon cake and Rice Krispie cakes for the kids for after school. All right. I like it. Somebody else is listening to us from the University of Galway. There's a university I'd love to have gone to. Galway, just for the sheer crack. And Carlow College, Kevin is listening in from no work has been done in third level Ireland today. They're listening in rather than studying. But this is academic. This is quasi pseudo academic in that we're recommending more books for you and things to watch. Now, I mentioned also that I wanted to talk to you about three. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about 3 books that complement a movie perfectly. I'm going to begin with Atonement by Ian McEwan, which then became the movie, which starred a 12-year-old actress by the name of Saoirse Ronan. And she may or may not have seen something correctly from her view in the window, or seen something correctly when she opened an envelope. Keira Knightley, James McAvoy. This is a Benedict Cumberbatch, small role but important. This is a sumptuous film version of an absolutely beautiful book. That's one. Number two, it's filthy. It's rotten. It stinks. I love it. Irvin Welch, Trainspotting. The book, it's like a Clockwork Orange. You have to climatize to the language and the complete authentic deep Scottishness of it all, and then you get your head around it, and then you see the film, and it's just that thudding, thumping soundtrack, and Ewan McGregor and a cast, a massive cast, Robert Carlyle and others. That is good. Visceral viewing, complements the book beautifully. And finally, I'm going to go with Remains of the Day, largely because it's my third favourite film of all time after It's a Wonderful Life and Goodfellas. I actually think I preferred a little bit. Sorry, Kazuo Ishiguro. I think I preferred the book to the film. I prefer the film to the book, but it's a glorious study of that period that I'm fascinated by in English life, which is between World War I and World War II. I think essentially the Edwardian era in a big house, and it stars Anthony Hopkins in like you've never seen her before, Emma Thompson like you've never seen her before or since, and indeed Christopher Reeve in a small role, but very impactful. And you kind of think, what would have happened if he had gone on and had more of a go? Treat yourselves to Remains of the Day. It is quite something. And then, so I posted that on Instagram today, and you came back in your multitudes with suggestions of books that are complemented by the film. And I see Mrs. Rogers and Dolores all saying The Kite Runner. Yeah, I remember reading that. I loved that. Brooklyn, who we mentioned earlier on, for a different context, he didn't with the Beckhams. But Dolores and Caroline said they loved that. Again, that's Saoirse Ronan from Column to Bean, former guest of ours here. His book about the emigration into America. Hamnet getting a few mentions. Obviously, Maggie O'Farrell's book, beloved by people now thanks to that extraordinary film. Catherine and Roisin suggesting that. Where the Crawdads Sing. Did either of you guys see Where the Crawdads Sing? Emma and Debbie suggesting that. Yeah, I'm gonna just slightly question that for a moment. I thought the book was very, very good. Sometimes I find when books are, everyone's talking about them, and then you read it, the expectations are too high, and I don't quite understand the fuss. However, the film was well intended, but I just felt I'm gonna kind of blame the costume people, because she was meant to be living in in the rough with nothing, rags. But she kept, every time she came out of behind a tree, she was wearing something that looked like she was going to Electric Picnic or All Together Now. No, but it was all this kind of like floral, and I was like, no, she definitely, no, you lost me, lads. The Talent of Mr. Ripley, says Rosie. This is a great, okay, so actually I prefer the film to the book. I know they'll kill me. Like people who read The Talent of Mr. Ripley will think I'm a fool. And I don't mind, I understand. But the film is so sumptuous. Have you seen the film? You know the film. So it's Matt Damon, it's Matt Damon and Jude Law. Am I right? Matt Damon, yeah. Jude Law and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Gwyneth Paltrow in probably my favourite role other than the Tannenbaums. But that is a stunning film. And Andrew Scott did a nice job of it recently on Netflix, all in black and white, which was really nice. So it's funny enough, it's a book built to be filmed. Some of them are just like that. And that's lovely. So I saw a clip today of a film I've never seen that starred Andrew Scott playing Paul McCartney in a film. And he was brilliant with Paul McCartney. He got the whole, I don't know what to do, He's got the whole voice, come on. And I was going, that's really good. It's called John Lennon or Lennon something. Lennon Naked. I've never seen that. It sounds like a dish you might make for it. No, I've never heard of it. But he does a really good Paul McCartney. And now you've got Paul Mescal who's probably quite friendly with Andrew, playing Paul McCartney in the Sam Mendes quartet of films about the Beatles. Anyway, that was just the buy. Where we go? Jen Bradley is in snowy Boston. Like Boston. And who else? Sherry Bondi listening from Vienne in Provence. That's great. Has anyone been to Davos? Would you? No, but it's in the news.
Aren't you only allowed in if you're
Yeah. I've never been. I kind of like to have a look just to see. Like this in the UK at the moment, they're all trying to figure out, will Keir Starmer go over because Trump is going over? Does he follow over and go, hey, can I just say a quick hello and try and sort stuff out? But it just seems like a really interesting place to be. Anyway, that's for now there. Trainspotting was devastating, says a message. Yeah, it sure was. We had Irvin Welch. By the way, listen to these interviews back. They're all there in the archive on the Bookshelf podcast. You can download that and you will see just some lovely interviews when you think of it. Colin to being aforementioned. Irvin Welch, he was great. I met him at a book festival in Reykjavik. And we hit it off, himself and Emma. They were fab people, and lovely interview. Speaking of which, another one, Anthony Horowitz, also had lovely dinner with him in Reykjavik once. Absolutely loving the Anthony Horowitz books. I picked Magpie Murders up in Heathrow before Christmas after you mentioned it on the podcast. I have bought 2 books since. Emer, can't tell you how happy this makes me. The Horowitz books they're just beautifully written. They're funny, they're smart, they're entertaining. There's a nice crime story twist to them. They're not cozy, but they're not going to break your heart, when you're going to bed going, oh, you're not going to cry yourself to sleep. They're good fun. Toronto in Canada, super excited to be hearing you again. Barbara, lovely to hear from you, Barbara. Canada, I've never been to Canada. Tom, Aidan, no one's been to Canada. Not yet. Well, isn't it funny? I think that a lot of people, I don't mean to upset our friends in America, but I've heard a lot of people saying, I don't know if I want to go to America at the moment. Just really kind of put off by stuff. Don't need to get into it here. So I would imagine, in much like the Handmaid's Tale, people are probably going to Canada for different reasons. That was a rough segue, wasn't it? But I just thought I'd lash an old book mention in there while I'm there. Hamlet was the book. It was my favourite that I read last year. That's great. I'm glad you liked it, Martina. And Melanie says Remains of the Day is my favourite film, because it's so heartbreaking. Somebody else mentions. Aoife says A Room with a View, which is also lovely. Anything by Merchant Ivory is beautiful. It's good. By the way, on the subject of the director that I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, I did say that, it's because it's set in Nazi Germany. And Leni Riefenstahl gets mentioned a few times, the woman who brought together the Nuremberg rallies and she was the film director of the Nazi story, essentially. Apparently very good at her job, even if it was wicked what happened, obviously, which we know we don't need to get into that, but that's for sure. But what I was going to say to you about that was, as a result, I wanted to watch a documentary, and there was one that was released last year about her, and I was curious to see, is the documentary any good? All I'm going to say to you is, it's not that good. It's about a 5 or 6 out of 10. So just in case you're going, oh yeah, is it good? I think that was an opportunity missed. That's what I'll say about that. Have you read the Mistborn books? I've never heard of the Mistborn. Anyone? No? Mistborn books. I'm sorry, Collie, I haven't. But thank you for even saying it. That's really good to know. That's interesting because our friend in West Clare is saying, check out Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club next time you're in Soho, legendary venue. The last place Jimi Hendrix jammed before he died. Didn't know that. I was staying up the road from Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. I've passed it by. Imagine the 2 years that I was there, I never went in. I don't know why or how that passed me by, but yes, it's on my list, and I'll be spending a lot of time in London, so I'm going to make it you've now just added that little extra stone on the pile of stones. Anyway, just came out from one of my final year exams in Maynooth, and when having lunch, I clicked on to hear you yap. Well, yap is what I do, like one of those little annoying dogs when you call into someone's house. Bridges of Madison, no, but they are, the yapping dogs, and they're going, isn't he cute? No, he's just annoying. Do you have one? Has that noise? Male or female? Yeah. And do you like this dog? Or do you tolerate this dog? Yeah. No. They're really annoying. See, the problem is everyone who owns those kind of dogs thinks that we all love them. And everyone's too polite to say, that's a really annoying. That's like an aggressive mop at my heels. Bridges of Madison County, almost as good as the book. Thank you. Have you heard the series of books in libraries all over the 32 counties, Books to Save Your Life? No. Donated by Haven Horizons, that's Madeline McAleer, sponsored by the Shared Island Grant. This I haven't. I will look into it, but thank you. Emma says, The Life and Death of Charlie St. Cloud, book amazing, film okay. Yeah, I was thinking about this today as well. Like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory got turned into Willy Wonka, and I think at the time it kind of bombed and no one liked it, but it's become part of our childhood now, so we like it as a result. Teresa, hi Teresa. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly just arrived today. Oh, lovely. I love when that happens. It arrives in the post. Can't wait to start reading it. I'm not a big reader, but I can't wait to start it. From a Muppet Madhouse. Oh, you me ball. Love. Do you know what the worst Worst day of my life. No, I'm joking. But the one I was given, the Disney company gave me a Muppet version of myself. Now some will say they didn't need another version. I'll beat you to it. And I can't find it anywhere. It was really good. I loved it. It's gone missing. Gone missing. I'm Muppetless. And yeah, it's one of my dreams is to be. You know when they do the Muppets, the Jason Segel ones, with Amy Adams, whatever, and the second one they went around Europe, and I wanted them to come to be on a talk show or something, and I said, "Can I be the guy? Because I just want to work with Muppets. I mean, real ones. You know who you are. Yeah. Not Statler and Waldorf over here. I mean, the real.
Jason Segel once.
Did you?
Man ever.
Was he?
Absolute gent. Yeah.
You see, that's an interesting. So if you didn't hear what Aidan was saying, he met Jason Segel and said it was lovely. Isn't it funny how sometimes the famous person that you are going to meet can disappoint or impress, depending. Now, we could have another conversation. Yeah, you're not. We could have another conversation. One of the weird things, so if you have no idea who I am, so I presented a talk show. Yeah, all right, Johnny American over here. I was on the sidewalk presenting my talk show. I presented a chat show for 20 years, and so you get to meet all the heads. And then we've been doing this. We've met loads more heads, which is great, doing the bookshelf. And it's so interesting when they walk through. You kind of know from the energy, don't you? I mean, when they come in, the energy. Well, I suddenly turn into Gwyneth Paltrow, but you know when they walk in the door, you go, yeah, this is going to be fine. They're really nice, or what have you. But it's exciting. There's another one from Toronto, listening and watching from a very cold day in Toronto. I always tell the story of Martin Sheen, the great actor from West Wing, and I was watching all of West Wing, and I said, I'd love to get Martin Sheen. And has he? I didn't know he had a podcast. He has a lovely voice. I'd say yeah. He was. I was dying to meet him, and he had starred in a film in Ireland called Da, made by Hugh Leonard, and he filmed it up in Dalkey in South County Dublin, the infamous slum of Dalkey. And he was in the mean streets. Someday a real rain will come. Anyway, I heard somebody on the radio yesterday, it was a real old person thing to say. Well, I mean, they're doing everything like watching Peppa the Pig. I'm going, nah, you don't watch Peppa the Pig, pal. You don't. Like, I'll get stuff wrong. I'll say, that's like saying the Brat. It's real the Brat. It's not. It's the Peppa the Pig.
Malapropism?
Yeah, I think I have to be you in there. But I loved it. Peppa the Pig. I burst out laughing at that. Even though they laugh at me because I also get it wrong. So I'm not. Anyway, so Martin Sheen I was trying to get, and Ronan, researcher on the program, I said, can we get Martin Sheen? I'd love to. So we found out he was studying marine biology in Galway, University of Galway. Do you remember that? He was doing that down there. So we got in touch and he said, yeah, I'll come up and do your show. It was Tubridy tonight, so it was before the Late Late Show. And I was like, what? This is great. And they called him and said, okay, Mr. Sheen, we'll send a car to collect you from Dublin. He said, you're going to send me a car? Yeah, just to get you up. He said, there's a train, is there not, from Galway to Dublin? Yeah. And I can get that, can't I? Yeah. So why would you send a car? Well, because you're Martin Sheen and the showbiz. No, it's a waste of time. It's just the economy and the ecology, the environment. He said maybe a cab would be handy from the train station. I said, yeah, well, okay, if you want a cab. And he made his way up, and sure enough, he was one of the nicest people you could ever meet. Yeah, you just know. It's also, so this is the diagram for chat show hosts that once were, is the more famous the person, the smaller the demands. The less famous the person, the bigger the demands. You see what I'm doing there? That's the truth. Eamon says, The First Witch of Boston was my favourite book from last year. Haven't heard. I'm fascinated by books about witches. And I tell you, I'm just taking it out of that. Why are you laughing? It's true. The First Witch, I'll tell you why, because of Boston. Thanks I'm going to look that up, Eamon. Oh, I love a bit of that. Do you know what it is? It's because it's about little small men terrified of women. Men have been terrified of women from the moment women came on the scene, and they just go, she says, I think you're wrong. Witch, what? Burner, what? She just said, I think you mightn't be right. I think we have to go left at this road. Yeah, but she's wrong, so let's burn the witch. And there's like witch, the othering of women by witching them up is, I just find it intriguing. And the Crucible, of course, leads to that, with that whole idea of she's a witch and she's a witch, and then that was about McCarthyism, wasn't it? But I haven't seen the Crucible as a play. It's coming to the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin, and I think I want to go and see that. So that's nice. So I've got the To Kill a Mockingbird and the Board Gosh, and Crucible. There's two of my favourites. Actually, as we're talking about books that are made into great films, don't forget, a few people have said Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird is a thing of great beauty. Okay, where are we going? We are talking, James says, talking all things books into TV, movies, adaptations. Have you dipped your toe into graphic novels? Filmmakers are turning to a lot of these unique writers for new, diverse stories. Brilliant message. I love graphic novels. I love when they do Shakespeare or Irish history or, big kind of philosophical thought. The graphic novels are smart and they're clever and they're beautiful. So, and Will Sliney is an Irish guy who I interviewed not too long ago. A really interesting guy. And in fact, I kind of suggested a bit of a project to him and he got back to me and said, I'm interested in that thing because it's a combination of Irish history with through graphic novel. I've got this idea in my head. As you can probably gather, my idea in my head is just like hell's a poppin'. Like I said, it's like, do you know those sweets when you were a kid and you put them in and it's like, and it popped on your tongue? Yeah. You know, those, like what's it called?
Pop rocks.
Pop rocks.
Pop rocks.
Yeah, that's my brain.
You're
Fizzing with ideas and thoughts and so on. But James, that's great. Bye Irish, our friends. Good morning. Good morning. Hardly. 1:30. The original series with Jeremy Irons and Anthony Andrews of Brideshead Revisited was so true to the book. I'm so glad you mentioned this. Brideshead Revisited is a beautiful book and it's heavy enough to get through because it's so old-fashioned in some ways. But that series, which came out in the early 80s on ITV or whatever it's called, is available to watch. You can get a box set or wherever you get your stuff. Treat yourselves, especially kind of winter. It's so amazing. The two, Jeremy Irons, Anthony Andrews, and Laurence Olivier plays the kind of the pater familias as well. It is so English, and the sig tune to Brideshead Revisited, download it on Spotify later on. It's about 2 minutes. It's one of my favorite sig tunes I've ever heard, ever, because it's just so evocative of dreaming spires and summer on the lawn. Not that I was ever near a dreaming spire or a summer on the lawn, but you know what I mean, from the old books. That's what I'm talking about. Patrick says, I'm enjoying the podcast. Any plans to host a live bookshelf event? And not only do we have plans, I think we're looking at a date. Don't we have a date? We're looking at doing this. We're just waiting for confirmation on one or two things. But the idea would be the end of March in the Pavilion Theatre in Dún Laoghaire in Dublin, largely because I can walk to it. But also...
We won't pay for a car like Martin
No,
Sheen.
I'm going to do it, Martin. Yeah, I asked him, could I get a taxi? They said, Martin Sheen. 2 words for you, pal. Martin Sheen. I said, okay, I'll walk. I'll do this for Flipper or whatever dolphin I'm saving as a result of. But I'm going to do it. We're going to do the Pavilion. I know the Pavilion. It's a nice theatre. It's a nice size. It's not too big. We'll get a couple of authors in to talk to about their work, and then we'll take questions from you and the audience. And then we'll all get a bag of beer, a bag of cans, and head down the seafront. See where the world takes. That's the plan. I know a guy. So we'll see what happens. Tom says, someone was rudely talking over you when I was trying to listen earlier. You mentioned Leeds and Bradford, but I didn't catch the context. What was it, if you don't mind? I'm very happy to tell you that was a book called The Chemist by A.A. Dand. That's D-H-A-N-D. A.A. Dand. Kath says, I love your Christmas jumper book. Never too old to feel the magic. Nurturing the inner child with magical writing, uplifting and magical. From a Galway. Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, I haven't done one since that, but I have a couple of ideas bubbling. I just have to meet the right person who says, that's it, that's great. We've got a load of things that I will come back to you on that. Another guest that we loved, it was Paul Giamatti. He walked in the door wearing a yellow Tweety Bird baseball. Daffy Duck. I keep saying Tweety Bird because it's yellow. Daffy Duck baseball cap. And from the moment he sat down, was he not?
No agent, no publicist, no manager, no fuss.
No fuss. And one of the most entertaining guests I've ever met. That's one of the podcasts. Listen back to. We might throw up a few of these later on today because we, as mentioned in our conversation today, so we'll do that. That's good. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Graphic novels, says Mary. They've gotten our grandson into reading this past year. He's now an avid reader. Perfect example of the graphic novel as a as a gateway drug for kids to read more. Okay, so that's exactly it. It doesn't matter what they're reading. Sure, I started reading Beezer and Whizzer and Chips and stuff like that. I loved comics as a kid. So I'm not saying graphic novels are comics. Speaking of which, what came up on my timeline? But there's an Irish Comic Con. Tom, you being a Comic Con guy? You give geek. Yeah.
But I've actually never been.
You've never been to one. I've been to. Yeah, I think it might be in the ODS, or is it the convention centre? I don't know. It could be. We'll find out. Anyway, Irish Comic Con. Who's going to be showing up at the Irish Comic Con this year in November? Only William Shatner, Captain Kirk. Let's get him in here for a chat. Imagine his 3 books from his. I mean, I've interviewed him once on Tuberty Tonight, and he was off the wall. No, but I loved him. Well, yeah, but brilliant off the wall. Like not rude or anything. I just love these. They're extra. He's extra. Because we had Captain Picard on one time, who was lovely, Patrick Stewart, and he was talking at one stage. He was telling a story, and I remember well. I was walking down, and he was telling a story, and then he looked at the audience and said, "I appear to have lost the audience." And he was right. They started shuffling, but at least he had the emotional intelligence to spot it. Henrietta. Is that Henrietta? Is that the writer Henrietta, whose book I will be starting very soon? The Woman in the Water, all about. It's kind of like a take on the Daphne du Maurier. I can't wait to get into that. But you're talking about Evelyn Waugh, Handful of Dust, 1988 film adaptation is amazing, starring. Well, now you see all the segues coming together here. The connections. Kristen Scott Thomas, who I've always had a lot of time for, let's put it that way politely. And she is also excellent in Slow Horses as the deputy boss to the dingbat boss, as you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thank you, Henrietta. Hope you're well. Linda says, the Pavilion, can't wait already. Are you all going to come to see us in the Bookshelf Live? I think we'd have a good night. I think because I went to see a couple of podcasts live just to see what it's like. And I love the interaction. I'd love to see people in real life and get questions going. We're looking at the tech for that, aren't we? And to see if we can get people involved as much as possible. Comic-Con is indeed on in the convention centre for my fellow nerds and geeks who want to go to that. I think I'll go down to that for sure. Somebody else is reading Stephen King's Christine, and it's off to a good start. You know something? I've never read a Stephen King novel in my life. Which I know, Tom, and he collapsed on the floor.
I read one.
You've read one. Which one?
I'm a science fiction fan, but the one about the Kennedy one.
Oh, that's meant to be brilliant. That's the November the date. Yeah. It's the American version of the date, and it's November 22nd. 11/22/63. Okay. Did you read any of them? You've read loads. Can you give me a top one or? It. Yeah.
Which has been turned into great movies.
Well, the problem with it is, and if you talk about particularly the movies, hey, Georgie. So if you're talking about the movie, in anywhere other than in Ireland, people think you're talking about an unmade film about called It. It. And they're going, and you say, oh God, Stephen King, I've read It. Oh, I didn't know about that one. Is it good? Well, yeah, it's the one with the Pennywise. And I go, oh, you mean It? Yeah, but it's It. No, It. Yeah. Have you seen It too? I know Ish too. No, It. This is a very confusing conversation with somebody who's not from Ireland. If I'm Ireland, you go, have you seen It? Yeah, it's great. I loved it. I loved It. So you know what I'm talking about. Okay, should I try a Stephen King? I keep saying I do this once a year. I say I must read a Stephen King, and I never do.
It's a bit weird. The actual novel.
It
ends very weird.
It or It?
It.
Yeah. So which one should I read?
Which four of them together in like novellas, like Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption. They're called different names.
Yeah. See, Shawshank Redemption, I can't get behind the excessive love for that film. I know I'm an outlier. And I'm not doing it to be cool. I just tell you what I saw. I saw a fine film, but people lose their reason over this film. So I just need to be told why. Somebody tell me why. So maybe a shorter Stephen King, just to get a sense of his writing. It was Carrie. I don't know. I've seen Carrie. It's got a great. I mean, his films have been touch and go as to whether they've been great. Carrie was brilliant. The Shining was brilliant.
Yeah,
are they good?
Very different.
Do you know what's great? A.A. Dan was talking about this yesterday. Silence of the Lambs is a brilliant book by Thomas Harris. I'd recommend those. And The Godfather, Mario Puzo. That's a great a book as well. Okay, Melanie says, I agree with you on Brideshead. It's my go-to. I used to watch it every Saturday night with my dad when I was in my teens. Happy memories. Yeah, and that's Sig Tune. Don't play it later on. You'll love it. Evan says, up to 3 weeks ago, I had never read a Stephen King novel, but I just finished Mercy, and it's a great story. Mercy. Okay, I'll write it down with a view to watching. Speaking of, I just did Mercy like as in Mercy. I want to go and see the Baz Luhrmann Elvis documentary with my friends, and we're gonna have a bit of an afternoon of it because we're of a certain age. So we'll go to a matinee showing of it, then pints.
Okay.
Elvis and pints, Presley and pints. Okay, that's going to happen.
And
Just
karaoke.
ooh, good idea. That reminds me. So Kelly Harrington was a guest of ours on this show as well. She was one of my favorites also. And we are on a promise to have a karaoke night out, and I'm excited about it. Wouldn't that be good fun? We should put GoPro cameras on our heads and turn it into something. But yeah, we're going to do that for sure. Dave says, hi Dave, Pet Sematary is a great Stephen King book, but the movie adaptations were awful. Okay, well that's when they get it wrong. Amy, you give geek. Poor Tom. It's the greatest compliment. It is. Are you okay with that? We talked about this, the phony geeks. I'm such a geek. You're not. You're good with that. Okay, where else have we got? We mentioned that. We mentioned God, the Godfather gets mentioned in as one that's become another, which is wonderful. Now, Lord of the Rings, lads. Now, I didn't stick with Lord. I've never read Lord of the Rings, and people get shocked by that because they think I'm at home playing chess while reading Lord of the Rings. I'm doing neither. But Lord of the Rings, Tom, you're doing both at the same time. No, checkmate. Good night. Is that what you do? In that voice. Poor Tom. Why are you getting such a hard time? Next week, Tom will be produced from his car on his own with the lunch. It's gone full circle. This is a disaster. Who else we got? I'm not sure what to call you. Some of the handle names are so bonkers. Something to do with yoga. Loved Stephen King, but banned from reading him as I had nightmares while I was reading it. Yeah, if books give you nightmares, you know they're really good, and you have to be careful what you're reading before bed. Anyway, so back to Lord of the Rings for a minute. Somebody mentioned that, excuse me, on the Instagram. They suggested, Lord of the Rings as something that's been translated brilliantly. I quite liked the first Lord of the Rings film. And then, it's funny seeing James Nesbitt running around like a hobbit, that's kind of comical. And then there was another one. How many were there? There was loads. Then I got lost. I got lost around Middle Earth. I just said, no, it was terrible. But I can do the Star Wars. And then they did so many Star Wars. When I was a lad, there were 3 Star Wars films. Life was so simple. Then they threw in the stupid ones with Jar Jar Binks. And then now there's a million other ones with the woman who looks like Keira Knightley but isn't. Daisy Ridley. Yeah. It's done. Star Wars is done. Poor old George Lucas must. Anyway, but I'm sure his bank account is delighted. Now, so Lord of the Rings, come see, come sa. Any thoughts on that? Welcome before we wrap up pretty soon. I'm glad to say my algorithm, as I say, pretty. My algorithm started getting busy with Curb Your Enthusiasm clips recently, and I was lost for about an hour. My phone ringing. No, I'm going down the Larry David rabbit hole. It was so fun. I mean, he takes the everyday and stuff. Do you ever have that when you're in the supermarket and it happens and you just in your head it just goes boom 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 ding 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 ding. Now, another great suggestion. I've never read the books, although I do believe and I've heard they're really good. Dune. But you've seen the films, yeah? Okay, they're great. The Chalamet Zendaya films are just wonderful. Aidan says, Ryan, loved your article about the cinema experience a couple of weeks ago. That's in the Irish Mail on Sunday. On a Sunday, I write stuff, a page, a diary, a column. Isn't it pure escapism from this mad world? Aidan, I've got to meet somebody at 3 today. It'll be brief coffee. Good guy, but brief coffee. Good guy. Great guy. But brief coffee, why did I say it? Just sometimes you find yourself saying something and going, that's like it's going to be the best coffee ever. But then I'm really thinking of nipping in to see 28 years later. I've just got a hunger to see it. So yeah, you've just got me reminding. What's our order in the? Come on, what's our order in the cinema, Aidan, for going in? What are you getting? Do you not have the same thing every time? You hardly have to think about it. It's like medium popcorn, medium drink. What drink? Give me the salted popcorn. None of that sweet. Coke Zero. Okay, listen, make that a double.
Okay,
we're in. Tom, what are we having? 3. Tick tock.
And not one for mixing in.
No, not having it. You've got to put the Maltesers. You don't. You can just have the popcorn and the Coke Zero. The real Coke is the only problem is, okay, now this isn't being Johnny Tightfist. The Coke from the dispenser, apart from the fact that we have to remortgage the house to pay for it, but the Coke from the dispenser is never fizzy enough for me. I love fizzy. So I'm more tempted to have a cold can from a shop because it's proper fizzy, not because it's cheapskate. It's just better class of fizz. Popcorn, I'm happy to get from the thing. Now, there's one last cinema that I know of because I'm from Dublin. So tell me if you're from anywhere else that they do it, where they still do butter popcorn. The Odeon in Stillorgan does butter popcorn.
I think Liffey Valley still.
It's Liffey Valley.
They used to do it up until
Yeah.
they don't do it anymore.
I think people who work in cinemas hate butter popcorn because Phil. So let's keep going. Aoife says, a room with a view. Like, stay on mic. Stay on message. A room with a view. I loved that film. Also, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Such an amazing book and film. Okay, very good. Teresa says, I read everything. I've read everything Stephen King has written up until up to then, back in late 80s. We're sick with the flu. They got me through it, but I kind of associate him with being ill now. Isn't that interesting? That you read all those books when you were sick, and now as a result, every time you think of that person, they make you sick. What a bizarre thing, because they were helping you, and now you kind of hate them. That's funny. Loved your article. You actually did that. Okay, Room of the View, very good. Breen says, can't do Lord of the Rings novel. Drove me mad. Okay, yeah, well, if it wasn't for you, it wasn't for you. Don't write off, says James, the Star Wars just yet. Andor is probably one of the best TV programs of the last 5 years. It's much more scary. It's a reflection kind of on the current state of America. Well, the current state of America, even today, it being, what are we on, Tuesday afternoon, is so off the wall that Star Wars looks like an episode of EastEnders. So we will take it for what it is. But thank you for that. I love to go to the cinema, but I'm laid up with 2 broken ankles, getting to read lots. Oh, I hope you're okay. And what are you reading with your broken ankles? Good now. Paul says, The Book Thief is a great example of a book turned into film. I liked the book, but the film left me a little cold, Paul, but thank you for your message. And then The First Witch of Boston is where we're going to have to go for a book as recommended by you. Okay, we're nearly there. Suffice to say, Dundrum says Witchy Poo 777. Tom, is this you just writing under a pseudonym? Are you Witchy Poo 777 quietly sending me in messages? Dundrum have advertised that they're bringing the butter back. Well, do you know what? It's a great alliterative advertising campaign, is it not? Bringing butter back. That is good. I can see that happening. So if that's the case, good. The only problem with Dundrum is you go in for one thing and you come out with 100. It's you get lost in there. I like going to slightly less complicated, but it's a great shopping centre. Don't wrong. Popcorn should be banned in the cinema. Are we having that conversation? No. Look, I'm sorry. Popcorn and cinema go hand in hand. That's the way it is. I kind of draw the line on what's that food they have? Nachos? Is that the stuff with dip and smell? Yeah, I'm not loving that. And crunch, dip, smell, crunch. That's the thing. Can you give Davey a shout out? All right, Davey. Of course I can. Hi, Davey. But popcorn isn't as offensive. The problem is when you're watching the film and it's really, really loud and it's great because you can munch, and then it gets into the romantic bit and you're just looking at it going, I can't. You can't, because you can't. Can you? You can't. No. When they're just, no. So you just... It's not right. So it's about the timing. It's about the timing, really. Okay, we're nearly finished. So I'll just say the first book, says Yvonne, that I ever read as a child was The Secret Story. The earlier film version had Maggie Smith, and there's a newer version. It's also fab. Well, let's leave it on that today because we've got so much coming in, but we have run out of time because I have to go to my car, my red Ford Fiesta, on my own to eat my lunch by myself. And that is what we're doing. We're going to end the show like we began it. Loneliness in the front seat of a car. Okay, what do you want to talk about next week? If you want, are we here next week, or do we say this is the last one? We keep saying this is the last one. This is like going out with me on a good night out, where I'll say, last one,
Keep the party going.
last one, and then clunk. So let's see what happens. But you can follow me on Instagram if you're not already on Instatuberty, and put in suggestions for things you'd like us to talk about for next week. Oh, I forgot to tell. I brought the books in. America and the World, troubled old place at the moment. And last week I brought in the Big Brother by George Orwell because I plucked it off my shelf. Today, I plucked 2 books off my shelf that are for the history buffs among you, really, or the politics buffs among you. So we're going to go to ancient Rome, to Suetonius and the 12 Caesars. And in this book, it's really good. I described this once as being like Sky News meets ancient Rome. And he takes the 12 leaders of Rome, one after the other, beginning with Augustus. And there's a chapter in each one, and it tells you their peccadillos, their modus operandi of as rulers, and how they treated and roamed the world, excuse the pun. It's really good. But then, and the reason I picked this up is because then, this one, it's a bit stained because it's that good, by Nigel Hamilton. It's called the American Caesars. He picked 12 presidents of America, presuming that, of course, America is the Rome 2.0. And each chapter goes through each president. It's a lovely look into the presidents and the presidency. Really interesting. Now, it's older, so there's no mention of your man. And I don't think even Obama's in it. It's that old. But these two together as companion pieces to see how the world, bottom line, nothing changes. Okay, we got to keep the party going, please, Linda. If we kept the party going, I haven't even had a glass of water. I'm tired. So we're gonna just leave it there. Aidan, Tom, you're the best.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Lunchtime. Back to work, everybody. See you next time.